Mhm. The state legislature shall provide for a general and uniform system of public schools. Yes. Mhm. It is not a uniform system of public schools, right, to have my sons in the wrong grades when they were enrolled in school at the age of 5 years old. Now, these RCWs that you refuse to enforce, yes. When I gave you the actual evidence of the neglect, yeah. Now, it's included in the human rights. Now, this state is getting to go to the United Nations in the International Court of Law. Now, civil rights coordinators, when you issue a protection order using a forgery ex officio superior court clerk, yes, and you intentionally do not give me notice or opportunity to be heard, and then you issue it without the petitioner's signature right now, it's obvious that you're violating their civil rights. You violated the equal protections of the law. And since our marriage, yes, has the authority of the United Nations, you're violating the human rights of my sons. Now, what you've done to me, you're doing to them. It's going to be a massive amount of damages to each and every state of the United States that has any knowledge of this fraud. Now, I gave you what the actual school district says. Yes, their actual ages, the grades that they're in. I gave you the documentation of their birth certificates. Yes. And you have refused to enforce the laws. What could possibly cause you to not realize that it is not uniform to have students graduating at 19 and a half years old when they were enrolled in school at 5 years old? Now, Coolsine, yeah. Brennan, Port Angeles, oh, Squim, yeah. Um, she can't have custody of them. I don't motion a court. I inform law enforcement of a crime. Your duty, Sheriff, was to write a complaint when you had knowledge of the criminal laws being violated. And it violates the criminal law known as child abuse and neglect, yes, to refuse to enforce their child victims' rights. Now, it's the Mandatory Victims Restitution Act for every state of the United States. And these individuals known as corporations, oh, well, let's say you're a corporation. Your assets are titled in the corporate name, even though you were federally chartered, right? And you thought, well, even though he has our assets, yes, there's no possibility we could be liable for the mandatory restitution of refusing to be the whistleblower that you should have. Refusing to enforce the requirements of the Green Book. Now, let's see. Ombudsman, yes, in every nation of the world. You know what, Queen? As much as you liked your Commonwealth, yes, I will take nation after nation after nation. Now, I started with Australia, yeah, just so as to give you an example of what's available to me, yes, because these member nations, yes, that all became members of the Charter of the United Nations, yes, have the legal obligation for the support, yes, and the enforcement of the Human Rights Declaration. Now, I thought that the United Kingdom as a royal family, these little nations that you colonized over the last few hundred years, yeah, you're not going to own them. Now, let's see here. What is an ombudsman? Yes, because in the email that I sent, it said that Congress was the ombudsman. Yes, they were the ones that were obligated to enforce any maltreatment of any constituent of the United States of America. Can you tell me why the United States Congress is not personally liable, yes, for the forgery, fraud, kidnapping, conspiracy, treason, and subversive activities of this state and every state. Is there some reason why the Congress is not personally? Well, the office of the whistleblower ombudsman, yes. There is established an office of the whistleblower ombudsman to be headed by the whistleblower ombudsman, yes. Now, the appointment of the whistleblower ombudsman shall be appointed by the Speaker in consultation with the chairs and ranking minority members of the Committee on House Administration and the Committee Oversight and Reform. Yes. Now, this House Administration and the Committee of Oversight and Reform, yes. I'm thinking that's in the House of Representatives. The same House of Representatives? Oh. Well, members of the House of Representatives, that one side of the Congress, yeah, your staffs, and the public regarding international human rights violations and developments, you've been provided an immense amount of expert human rights advice and information, yeah, and by supporting entities of Congress in the work on human rights issues. Now, I would have thought that you are liable. Oversight over the executive office of the president, yes. This executive office of the president, yeah. Could you get me an original copy of your rules as the House of Representatives? Because I would want to see how you could, yes, remove with a view in determining their economy and efficiency, yes, and you could have inserted including the executive office of the president. Now, this could be some sort of appropriations. Well, I wanted to know the rules of the House of the Representatives. Rules of the 116th Congress, adoption of the rules of the 115th Congress, resolved January 9th of 2019. Yes. This just happened this year. It's July. And I found that little screen print in this rules of the 116th Congress. Yes. Now, just looking through it, it's confusing because you remove something and you put something in, and you remove something and put something in. You know, if I was in Congress and I didn't have the actual rules written so that I didn't have to include all these striking out and inserting in, I'd get confused as a congressman exactly right now. Now, I know you're a woman and you're offended at that, but let's say in Clause 3B of Rule 3, strike and to any and insert joint committee or. Yes, this does not make any sense to me.